Hello and welcome to the 15-minute show. We've decided to mix it up tonight with Luton tomorrow and do an evening 15-minute show rather than tomorrow morning. So as always, I'm your host, Adam Keys, and once again, I am joined by Monty, who's back from holiday. Welcome back, Monty. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Tired, good, but I'm just ready for Luton. Ready for Luton.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have you back. So yeah, it's one of those going into the game. Obviously, still got the momentum of Saturday. It kind of feels like we're just playing so much at the minute, which is great. But the good news is obviously no fresh injuries because Tomiyasu appears to be more of a fatigue-based injury. So what are your thoughts on Tomiyasu? Obviously, there's been talk of a new deal because of his form. Played his way back in, looks brilliant. But the kind of scare on Saturday kind of reminded us all kind of what it's been like over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think... I mean, I love Tomiyasu. I think it's if anything, it's more credit to him. I mean, we were talking a while ago about Ben White being up there in one of the best right backs in the league, full stop, and he has been for the last sort of year and a half. Tomiyasu got benched by White, and Tomiyasu has the mentality to come back and basically bench White, and it's causing a tug of war, which is good to have. And yes, if Tomiyasu is fatigued, we've got Ben White. So we're in a great situation. I love Tommy, especially the game against Lens as well. He's starting to add that. I think what we always said, and we've discussed it multiple times, Adam, is he always lacked going forward compared to Ben White. Ben White just looked better going forward. He would overlap better. But defensively, 1-on-1, Tomiyasu is probably one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
But now he's adding that going forward. He is becoming a very strong player. Now he's been linked to teams like Bayern Munich because he's good. He's a good player, and we're very lucky to have him.
Yeah, and you were obviously at the Lens game. We haven't caught up since because you went straight in your holiday. But on that day, like he was in the pitch 45 minutes, and I actually thought, despite only being on the pitch 45 minutes, he was one of the best players on the field. So he was someone that could have come away with the man of the match award despite only playing a half. And that's a testament to his kind of attacking qualities. Now, 2 assists, had a hand in the first goal as well. And it's just really refreshing to see a player get their head down that much and just prove on the pitch, I'm good enough to be here. And I guess the question for tomorrow night is, obviously with the fatigue injury, do you take the risk or do you just go straight to Ben White and say, right, back in the team you go? We've got Luton, go out and do the job.
I mean, look, we've got, God knows how, man. We've got, what, seven or 8 games this month now, something like that. It's crazy. You've just got to sit him out. He's going to play. This is the moment. Then this time, like, all of the players are going to get game time. Whether it's tomorrow, the next day, trust me, you're going to play. So I would go safe. I don't want to say because it's Luton. I just think I would rather Tomiyasu sit out a game and be ready for the whole season and rather come in and fatigue and it turns into a pull and he's out for a month during a very, very, very crucial month, because December and January, we know from history and just as a whole, it kind of, when you get to the halfway point at the end of December, that's when you really start going, okay, these are the serious contenders. And it adds a lot of confidence going into the new year. Then you've got the winter break. For the UK, obviously Europe have our Christmas break, but we have it in January. Go with Ben White. Rest Tomiyasu. Keep him safe. We need all of our players fit for this crucial time of the season.
Yeah, the other question is, so I don't expect to see much rotation because this is a tough game. They're going to come out with a low block. It's a really, really tight stadium. It's one of those that's kind of unlike any other Premier League ground, and it's one that, as I say, I wouldn't rotate too much. Maybe 2 players. Those 2 being Ben White for Tomiyasu. The other one, I think Havertz could be really useful in this game, given the height. And if you're playing a low block, if he's making those runs into the box, that can be somewhere that we really cause problems to Luton. So give me your thoughts on that one. Or do you think Trossard should keep his place?
No, I think it's pretty spot on there. I remember when we discussed after the Lions game about Havertz, and it was actually the game prior as well, and we talked about how it was just there are games that are better suited to Havertz and the games that are not. When it comes to Luton, they're quite an imposing team. They're physical, they're low block. Trossard is great for unlocking more technical teams, teams that play a little bit more open because he's just better in space. He's better at running into space. When there's a group and it's tight, you need height because it doesn't really necessarily matter how good you are with the ball. It's very difficult unless you're like Lionel Messi or like Jude
Santi
Bellingham.
Cazorla.
Yeah, or someone just tricky. Do you know what I mean? Someone who's really tricky. Trossard is a little bit tricky, but he's not tricky enough. Whereas Havertz is imposing. He's tall. He's physical. He can hold the ball down. He can get in the air. He can do on that side, and that's what we're going to need because we've got Martin Ødegaard next to him who can do the trickiness. We don't need too trickiness. We need versatility. We need someone tall, someone imposing, and we need someone who can get in between the lines and maybe put those splitting passes with Declan Rice as well coming in as an extra man. I think it would be better. I think it would be a game better suited to Kai Havertz's strengths. People might argue with it. I would agree with your assessment. I think Kai would be suited for it, and it's not discrediting to Trossard. I think Trossard's a great player, but like I said, there's many games. Trossard's going to get a game. If anything, maybe put Trossard on for Martinelli. Maybe because Martinelli works better in space. He works a lot better with a more exposed team, and you can just expose on counter attacks. Maybe Trossard can work better on the left. I don't know. It's an argument for all of them, and this is a great situation to be in. It's like compared to last season where the 11 picked itself.
Yeah.
We have conversations where do we put him in? Do we put him in? Do we put him in? To be honest, I don't care. They're all good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who goes. They're all good.
Yeah, Farhan and I discussed that on the pod. It was whenever it comes to running through the lineup now, you're kind of like, meh. You trust most of the squad. Even if he decided to drop Zinchenko tomorrow night, which I don't think he will, but if he did and Kivior came in, you would fully trust Jakub Kivior to do a job. And again, that's something that we wouldn't have had a year ago, where it was that 11, and if anyone from that 11 was gone, you'd be really panicking. So it's a real testament. The other thing is Luton come into this game with 2 draws and 6 losses in their last 8 games. They're not a side that are in good form at all. They will cause
trouble for us.
They're going to cause problems. Every Premier League side doesn't. But one of the things to note about Luton is they're not getting battered. They're losing games quite often by a single goal, and that's a big thing in the Premier League. Whereas you look at Sheffield United, they're getting hammered every week, and you go there and you think, right, we're going to mop the floor with you. I just don't see that with Luton. I think the key for me will be scoring early. Score early. That is the easiest way to kind of break down a low block. You get that early goal and the team has to come out of it. The longer it takes you to get kind of that breakthrough, the deeper and deeper teams get. And also the more kind of routine it becomes defending. So that will be the big thing for me, is getting that early start and just building on the momentum from the last 2 games where we've shown we can do that.
But, no, I think you're spot on with that as well. Look, the one that points out the most to me is that Tottenham game when Luton kept them pretty much 0-0 for the whole time, and they were probing, they just didn't convert, and it was only towards the end that Tottenham sort of scraped one in right at the death. But they can upset anyone. They can upset anyone. Like you said, they haven't been bad as well. I think the only team they actually got properly run over was probably Chelsea, but that was just. It's the only one I can think of. The Brighton game was just I remember watching that game, and the scoreline definitely flattered Brighton more compared to the game. It was they just converted their chances.
Yeah, well, even the Spurs game, the Luton had a couple of chances. There was one at the back post where he was kind of a toenail away from turning it in, and on another day, Luton could have won that game, and things could have been very different for Tottenham. But
against Liverpool as well.
They did. So it's not an easy game, and it's one I think we just can't take it for granted. And I think that's the case for the Premier League. It's one of those, it's the old cliche, there's no easy game, but actually everyone loves telling you about easy games until you face someone like that, and it's not going to be an easy challenge. But The other story of today is Aaron Ramsdale. So there have
Always.
been links to always, yeah. It feels like we can just never stay away from a Ramsdale story, which is funny because Raya's given such a strong performance against Wolves at the weekend, really deserved his clean sheet. Unfortunately, that error led to him walking away without one. But Nick Pope picked up a dislocated shoulder, and which means Newcastle have Martin Dubravka in goal, who isn't a bad keeper himself. He's just not at the same standard as Nick Pope. But there have been a lot of links with Ramsdale going to Newcastle, which I think some of them may have even started a couple of weeks ago. But give me your thoughts on this one, just as a fit, firstly, and then we'll discuss further.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of fit, I think Aaron Ramsdale can fit in pretty much any club. He's a great goalkeeper. It's just testament to his skills and abilities. Do I buy it? I don't. I think it's because I mean I was at work today and I work with quite a few Newcastle fans. They've just sort of come out of their cubby holes the last few years. But they with Pope, if Ramsdale was to go to Newcastle and say replace Pope because Pope is going to be out for quite a long time, he's going to be in the same situation that he's in now. In 8 months, he's going to be in the exact same situation. It's going to be him and Pope, and then one of them's got to go. And like in terms of how Newcastle play, Pope is a better shot stopper. So it depends how they want. If they want someone playing out from the back, they might go for Ramsdale. Might, but if you want a shot stopper, which is what Newcastle are pretty good at, and getting the minimal chances, then they're going to go with Pope. So although it makes sense, people are like, yeah, they need a goalie and they're just connecting dots. I don't think there's anything to it. I think it would be silly for Ramsdale to go to Newcastle, especially considering that they have a very top-class goalie. It's not like, I don't know, like Man United who've got Onana, which, let's be real, Onana's not that good. He's okay. He can do a job. He's not that good. I think Chelsea need a goalkeeper more than Newcastle. I mean, Sanchez is okay. He's okay, but he's not. If Chelsea want to be the club that they think they are and what they want to be, they need to aim for a better goalkeeper. And I think Ramsdale could be that sort of player. I personally don't want him to leave the club full stop, but it's going to happen. These things happen. Arteta's created this mess, and then we're talking about it week after week. As a fit, will Ramsdale go to Newcastle? I think he could. Of course, he can. He can stop the ball. He's a good striker, but I think Pope is just be better in that regard. But he can play out for his feet. He can spray the ball on counter attacks, which Newcastle are very good at counter attacking. You've got Isaac down the wing. You've got Callum Wilson's out at the moment, but they've got pace. They've got pace going forward. Anthony Gordon, Ramsdale is very good at that. He can just kick the ball straight across the field, low as well, so it stings. It goes with pace, and he's very good at that. So I think he could do it. I don't think there's any weight to it, true weight to it.
Yeah, it's funny with Newcastle because I know a lot about the club living up here and working with Geordies every day. And one of my colleagues is one of those that's really good to have a footy chat with. He really knows ball, and he's been complaining for quite some time about Nick Pope's feet and how often he puts the ball out of play and everything. But just while you were saying about the shot stopping thing, I had a very quick look at their save numbers. And Raya at Arsenal is making about 1.5 saves a game and showing how few shots he's actually facing. Nick Pope's making 2.9 saves a game. So in terms of the number of shots that they're facing, that's a lot of shots. So you bang on the money. And Raya's a 67% save accuracy. Pope's got a 74. So it's not that much higher. It just shows how many more saves he's making. And it also shows that Raya's got a really good shot stopping number there. But with Ramsdale, I think the question is, what is the future for Newcastle? Because if they're going to evolve to the next phase, having a keeper like Ramsdale is going to be key, whereas Nick Pope's always going to be Nick Pope because he's 32. The other question is, how many keepers come back as strong from a dislocated shoulder? That's a big injury for a keeper. Mm-hmm. So he'll be 32 by the time he's fit again. And you're coming right to the end of the season. You just don't know how you recover. For me, if Newcastle make an offer that is suitable, and we can line up a second choice keeper, not another number one, but a second choice keeper that can like push Raya and give him like adequate backup, I would take the money with the view of strengthening our team in January.
How much will you take, considering he came for so much?
I think you have to look at 50. I think if Newcastle offer 50 million, I think that's a fair deal all round. He's a 25-year-old keeper. He's had 2 great seasons at Arsenal. He may have 2 relegations, but he did get Player of the Season both times for each club. And
it cost us almost that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, he cost us 30, so that's a 20 million profit. And I think it's.
Do you think we could do it though? I mean, honestly, I don't think Arsenal
we can't sell.
We can't sell fuel to a garage, mate. We're awful. I'm telling you, like. We should get 50, 55, 60 million for Ramsdale as a top. Like you said, he's young. He's 25. That's so young for a goalkeeper. Nick Pope, who's 32, is in like prime goalkeeping now. Like he's got like 4 years of primeness left of him.
When we bought Lehmann, he was 33, 34, and we were getting a prime keeper. So
he's still prime now. He's doing great for them.
I think it's it's just. For me, with our kind of FFP kind of close to the radar with that, it's a case of if we can get 50, 55 million, to be honest, even 45 for Ramsdale, I think if you can bring in a keeper for 10, 15 million and use that extra 30, 35, whatever you've got left to really add towards a left 8 or a winger or even a striker or an extra defender, that could be the difference in winning you the title. I just think the kind of soap opera we've got now with 2 keepers isn't doing us any good.
I'm just thinking because I saw loads of links of people like we're listening to offers for Edin Nketiah to potentially upgrade to a top class striker. But I'm thinking on terms of a homegrown level, if we were to sell Ramsdale and Nketiah, and I'm guessing we wouldn't replace them with English players, where would that leave us in terms of the homegrown? Where would that leave us? Because I know
it's a good question, but Raya's homegrown, so we replace.
Is he classed as homegrown?
He's classed as. I think he came to England when he was like 16 or something like that, because he came to Blackburn first, and then he went to Brentford after that.
Right.
And but he came to England very, very young. That's why he speaks with a London accent. So very similar to Bella, and he learned to speak English in London. And so I'm not sure. I think if it obviously depends, but I think we're pretty strong.
Yeah. And we get Charlie Patino actually back and players like that, to be fair.
Yeah, although he needs to get back in the team at Swansea. He hasn't had a start for over a month, and he scored at the weekend. But he's only played 139 minutes. Know that because I've got a tweet going out tomorrow. But so he played 139 minutes over the last month, and he needs to get back in the team. But I've been following a few Swansea fans on Twitter who have been really calling out for him to be in the team, saying they're a better team with him there, and they can't understand why he's not in the team. So I think the feeling of the fan base is that goal will get him back in the lineup. So hopefully it does. But it is an interesting question and one that we can look into for the next show.
Yeah, 100%.
So but we will leave it there. So thank you to everyone that's joined. As always, please hit the like and subscribe button, and please come back for the next show. So thank you to Monty for joining us, and hopefully tomorrow night it is 3 points to the Arsenal yet again. Have a good night. Thank you.